of the heart. But the more we become evolved within ourselves, and the more we are able to remove the veils that have settled on our hearts because of our ego thinking, the more we're able to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mind has, unfortunately, it's made Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something which is a foreign entity. And because of this, our relationship and our understanding of Allah also becomes something which is by way of separation. And so, for those who evolve in their relationship with Allah, because they feel the presence, because that relationship comes from understanding and experiencing His presence from within, and therefore the relationship to everything else is from that vantage point, they have a faith which is untouchable. This is someone who, no matter what the experiences he has or she has outside of themselves, because it's seen through the lens of the heart which is present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a faith which is untouchable. Now, when we are able to come from this place of removing the ego mind which has hijacked the space in our heads, it's at that point where we are able to begin to reform our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thereby also reform the relationship which we have with the rest of creation. When we are able to transcend our own egos, when we're able to look beyond the ego mind and the ego thinking and the ego thoughts, and come to a place of real connection, a place of really being one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a place of this divine love and experiencing Allah within us. That's a point where we reform our relationship with Allah. And as the hadith says, "Man aslaha baynahu wa bayna Allah, aslaha Allah baynahu wa bayna an-nas." So essentially, one who is able to reform between them and Allah is able to be reformed between them and the rest of creation. Why? Because the reform that takes place is the removing of the ego. And when we can remove the ego, we reform between that which is between us and Allah. And consequently also, when we remove our ego, we're able to reform that which is between us and others, because we no longer see the other as separate from us. And so in the same way we would afford love for ourselves, we would also afford love for the other. So it's essentially about removing the nafs, or removing the idol self. Of course, we cannot completely eradicate the nafs, and the nafs is there and it serves us. But it is about reforming the nafs, it's about bringing islah to the nafs. And it's only from this vantage point of self-reformation that we can begin to reform the globe or the world, or reform that which is outside of us. It's impossible for us to think that we can change the world, or we can reform the world and remove corruption from the world without having first reformed our own selves, without first having removed our own egos, without having first reformed our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and we know this because in hadith, in the Quran we have, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيْرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيْرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ, that Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change the condition of their own selves. So we have to change the condition of ourselves, which is to change the usurpation of the ego over our minds. Now the world, it is set up for us to bring about this reformation. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed the world and creation is that He has orchestrated this for Islah, for reform. Because through reform, only then can we truly return back to Him. Only through reform can we truly return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everything that we encounter in life, every experience that we encounter in life, it is being done for us. Every experience that we are encountering in life is never ever the case that is being done against us. That every encounter serves us. And every encounter either serves us by showing us what we don't like and what we don't appreciate, and perhaps the things that we need to work on to reform within ourselves. Or it is showing us something as an affirmation of the goodness that is already there within us, or something that we can work to strive to attain. So essentially the world is a mirror, and it is showing us everything that we contain within us. And there are areas in the image that we don't like, that we need to reform. And when the same way when you look into a mirror and you cannot change the things that you see in the mirror by changing the mirror itself. The only way you can change the reflection of what you see in the mirror is by working to change what is here. So if you, just as we look in the physical mirror, don't like, for example, the style of our beard today, or the way our hair is today, we would then go and comb our hair or adjust our beard so that it looks differently. Similarly, when we look into the mirror of existence, where there are things that we want to change in the world outside, it begins first and foremost by changing what is inside us. So the world is set up for the purpose of this reformation. And it either reflects back to us the things that we like and we observe and we see as a true resemblance of the things that we contain within us, or it shows us the areas of ourselves that we need to work on and reform. And every experience serves us for this purpose. And in hadith we also have that a believer, when they look at anything, المؤمن إذا نظر عبر. A believer is one who, when he looks at something, he takes lessons from that thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He is the teacher. He is teaching you and I through lessons in life. So He is sending us these messages, which are the experiences or the encounters that we're having, or they are the messengers themselves. And if we can change our perception and see the world like this, it will really make us, help us to be able to live a life which is not weighed down by the experiences. Sometimes in life, we go through experiences that really weigh us down. We go through challenges in life that really hold us down. May that be something as simple as, someone cutting us out while we're driving, and that bringing us a lot of rage internally within us. That experience is enough for us to tell us that there's something wrong. We can blame the other person, we can blame the other driver, we can say that there's something wrong that they've done. But that's the mirror of existence showing us that there's some sort of reformation that needs to take place internally within us. So something as simple as that. Now, I'm not saying that all anger is misplaced, and all anger tells us that we need to work on something. There is obviously an element of anger which serves us, and there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the anger faculty. If we did not have anger, we would not be able to stand for justice, stand against oppression, and so on and so forth. So that's a simple example, but sometimes in life people do things that really hurt us, or really put a burden to our hearts. And those experiences, they either are showing us things that we perhaps identify with within our own selves, and therefore need to uproot from ourselves. Or they show us something that we have no association to and have nothing similar to that. And therefore there is no need for us to feel weighed down or burdened by that. So life serves us. I'll look at a few more practical examples of this, and perhaps some personal examples that may help us to appreciate and understand this more. So life is, the purpose of our life is, as we mentioned, it is for coming to know. It is for us to gain an understanding. It is for us to develop a degree of ma'rifah. So all the contrasts that we experience in life are there to serve this purpose. And we also know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we created all these contrasts. When He says, we created you shu'uban wa qaba'il lita'arafu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, that we created you in all these variations as different tribes and different people, and people from different backgrounds, different parties and so on, lita'arafu, so that you can come to know. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, the best of you are those who have the piety, who have a sense of presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately we know that many of us, especially as Muslims, and particularly as Muslims, and it's shameful for us to have this, but we allow the ego mind to create more separation, so that when we see those contrasts, and we see people of different caste, or different color, or different creed, or different backgrounds, we unfortunately we racially discriminate them, and we allow for more further separation, which is again the ego mind hijacking the true sense of godliness from us. We may pretend or deceive ourselves to think that we're being pious or godly, but those are all states of the ego mind, and they are therefore ungodly. Now, fasting, and especially in the holy month of Ramadan, it allows us to develop a sense of becoming empty, because we are physically emptying our bodies, we are physically emptying our stomachs, and this emptiness also helps us to become empty of our own egos, and to become more centered in our hearts, and more present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And essentially it's a means of us returning back to Him. And Fatima Zahra, salamullah alayha, she mentions that one of the prescriptions for fasting, one of the reasons, she says, for fasting is فُرِضَ الصِّيَامِ تَثْبِيتًا لِلْإِخْلَاصِ.